Hello everyone, welcome to the second season of Design Inspire Talks. I'm Kadambari Sahu, your host, founder of Design Inspire platform and SVP Design at ValueLabs. Design Inspire is an initiative to connect designers across the global design community, and Design Inspire Talks is a presentation and discussion series with passionate, innovative, and inspiring designers. It dives deep into their passion, inspiration, and what makes them go. It is an effort to understand how they are navigating their career path and how they are investing their creative energies. We believe hearing their bold moves and inspiring stories will ignite interest and inspire the next generation of budding designers across the globe. So let's go forward with our guest today,
Sandip Chauhan. Little bit about Sandeep. Sandeep is a senior interaction designer at Frog. He has worked as interaction, game, graphics, UI, and web designer in the past. He loves designing mesmerizing, immersive experiences using emerging technologies. He has also worked on AR VR as hobby. As a designer, he believes in fulfilling the user's immediate needs and strongly believes that user may not know what difference technology can bring in their daily life. He feels it's his job to make meaningful and useful interaction using the best technology and understanding of human behaviors. So, hi, Sandeep, how are you doing today?
Hey Kadambari, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. So let's go forward with our first segment, Sandeep, where it's the presentation of your choice. So we're very excited to see it. Please let's begin.
Okay, thanks Kadambari. Today I'm going to talk about good, bad, and in between. And it's kind of debate in my mind recently has started about contradiction in design decision as well as every decision we take in our life. And also I'll start with some bit of my initial starting of my initial career, how I was, and then how I evolved to become a designer. So this is the first question, which I had contradicting views on this question myself. Are games good or bad? So it's very funny to realize that becoming a crazy gamer in my childhood and in my engineering studies, and even after that also I continue to be a passionate gamer, and still manage to come to a career path as a designer, and currently being a part of Frog, prestigious design agency, and contributing to society in design and design community. I myself am surprised to see myself in this position. But yeah, are games good or bad? I was I'm here as a designer at Frog. It's also because I am a gamer, and that passion has driven that career path. So I'll just tell you how it all turned up. So let's say how games helped me in my other things in life. So I learned car in an hour's time, and with my friend, I first bought a car, then I went with a friend on a ground to learn it. So in approximately 1 hour, I just practiced on the ground, and after that, I was in the most traffic area of Ahmedabad, driving myself. So I think that motor skills I learned from different racing games. It had something to correlate with. I had immediately got the orientation of the car, and everything was very fast for me. Then it also inspired me to take any challenge anytime, and I stay open for it. So for example, if there are any new tools in our daily routine, right, as a designer, we see from sketch to XD and XD to Figma, like different client has different tool preferences, and also evolving tools introduced in the market, we have to cope up with it. But then that's not a barrier for me. Even I'm completely new to the Figma, which I was, just my previous project which I completed was in Figma. But before that, I didn't work on Figma as part of delivery tool. But then it was just change of tool. Most of the fundamental of all these tools are the same, and I still can manage deliverable quality as expected by the client in any given tool. So I explore that very fast. Then as we see, like team communication and collaboration is also integral part of multiplayer gaming. And also it is part of our programs, when you are part of a big team and you have to play your role. So in games, if we talk about Counter-Strike or Valorant, it's not about being a leader always. So you are in particular situation where you face certain enemies around, then you have to call out certain message to your team. You have to decide that at this particular moment you are the leader. Others have to follow your order in order to win that round. So in I think our design practice also in everyday, there are situations that senior, junior, lead doesn't matter. You are in particular situation, you are the best judge of what particular problem for the user you are solving, and everyone in the team has to respect that. And that collaboration and communication which happens in the team is very critical. And I think if you are a good gamer, you might have already learned that. And when we say about longer hours of concentration, I used to play games more than 10-15 hours in my engineering time. I used to forget eating, sleeping, everything, and used to play just games. So in any given situation in our design assignments, it's not about because of pressure. We tend to work so much, but it's about kind of engrossment and the link with the work and our craft that we have. That leads to that decision that, well, let me work, let me finish this, let me just come up with the outcome. I want to see it, I want to test it out. So that passion, I think, is built because of the gaming experience which I had. Then are games good or bad? In my parents' perspective, they would always say, don't play games, focus on studies, don't fail in exams, get recruited in campus interviews. But in engineering times, it's all about engineering, I would say. What I did is played games days and night, focused on games and game-related events. Engineering had to be completed in 4 years, but I did 5 years because of backlogs. And I was only qualified for one campus interview at that time. So that was like completely weird situation. But I knew what is right, what was the right decision. For example, what my parents said was right for me at that time, focusing on studies and get recruited in the campus. But in Contradiction, what I did was completely different. Probably in a way, I was in the direction of spoiling my career. Yeah, but then what happened next is different, by the way. But yeah, that is something contradicting decision making that I did at that time. Now, this is a little bit different now. I want to talk about the incidents which happened in my studies at NID. So tools capabilities versus my capabilities. So we had an exercise in a course of experimental animation. We had to come up with the animation for this, and the subject was abstract animation. Now, it was really difficult for me to understand what is abstract. So if you would ask me what is abstraction for a programmer, it is very, very easy to understand for me, and I know how it is done. But when we talk about in the concept of art and animation, I really struggled. I still feel that I still might not have clear understanding of what is abstract animation. So I came up with some certain iterations using Flash. At that time, it used to be Macromedia Flash. And I created some initial explorations. And I went to our faculty, Jignesh and Ajay Tiwari. So they said that this is all trash, they don't like it. And I was not able to understand why they are rejecting even before, like understanding what I'm trying to say in the animation. But then they explained, see, Sandip, you are exploring the tool itself. You are using Flash as your tool, and whatever is given as inside the Flash as tools, you are exploring that. And that is something not, we don't want to appreciate that. You get out of that tools limitation and think about concepts, what can be abstract. You can choose different medium to use for your animation. I was kind of frustrated and confused at the same time that what is going on, why it is the problem. But then I realized that in Flash there was features like shape tween and motion tween, and I almost stick to those two features and try to create all my explorations around those two features. But then I realized that what my faculties tried to make me understand was right. And then I tried different mediums as well, like stop motion animations and other stuff to explore the medium as well. So yeah, so that is also kind of good realization that which I had. Then engineer versus designer. So being an engineer, when I entered into NID, in initial days, I struggled quite a lot because whenever I used to ideate in any brainstorming session, I used to, just after thinking about idea, I also go beyond that idea and also used to think about feasibility, technology, what kind of programming language, what libraries, and what is already available, what is not available. And I used to like think too much about feasibility part, and sometimes used to make judgment on it, and my idea going forward used to be driven by those feasibility and not the concept itself. So that was also a problem. And again, like faculties tried and made me understand that that approach is really not right. And I kind of improve over the period of time that understanding the idea itself is different than putting always in terms of in the scale of feasibility. But at the same time, I understand why engineers say no to difficult implementations, because probably the expectation from the engineer is different. Being a designer, we come up with different concepts, which are going to provide the best experience to the users. But they are still concepts. Engineers are the ones, they have to implement those ideas, doing a lot of coding, managing the libraries if they are available. If they are not, they have to make from the scratch. And whenever they see those kind of instances where they have to create something from the scratch, uh, in programming, I have been a programmer, so I know what kind of challenge it is. So there are not certainty about achieving certain visual by programming, even in given time. There has to be enough time to achieve certain interactions or certain visuals that designers are proposing. So I think it's about I understand there is a clear gap between when a engineer says to a designer that no, this is not possible. It's not that it's impossible. It's mostly that it is not possible in given amount of time or given technology. So there has to be a proper conversation has to happen between design and an engineer. I have been doing in my past, for example, the video just we saw in the right hand side, it was the application Sri Hanuman Chalisa app that we were designer in Charvi Design Labs in New Delhi. We work on this program. So there was a challenge that the developer team that we hired, they always had this excuse that it's not feasible, it's not possible. And then I used to take a step and used to work on processing for Android, exploring some of the libraries and actually creating that working prototype that and showing them, guys, it's not impossible, it is possible, and probably I have already made it for you. Now you decide how you can implement in your technology platform. So probably they have to figure out a way to do it. So what I used to convince them is I used to negotiate on the time barrier and effort barrier that they have, and convince our stakeholders also that okay, if they have to achieve this, they will need this amount of time, but it's definitely possible. So it was really handy for me to becoming engineer at any situation in my designer career of designer as well. Yeah. So now I want to talk more about my views around contradiction and decision making. This is just last week I started thinking about this topic. It's very raw right now, but it's just some initial ideas and nothing conclusive about it, but kind of open for discussion. I just want to put it across. So I take decisions, but I never say it's the best decision in the world. I generally don't say it. And even if I say that the decision which I took was the best one, but I'm still open for others, who wants to challenge it, because I always believe that there is, the world of knowledge is far better than I know. So someone might have those references of the knowledge which I don't possess, and there can be a better decision from that. So let's say example, this blue dot is my knowledge, and another dot is my logic. And if we see that white area is vastness of the actual realm of my logic and my decision, let's say it looks, yeah. So in this screen, if we see, I take a decision of the knowledge and logic which I have, and I come up with one decision. Probably I consider it best according to my knowledge. Now, let's say a bigger picture where there is a knowledge, a superset kind of everything about that particular domain, and there is also a logic, related to that domain, or probably logic in its own realm. So it's very vast. Probably I cannot possess probably any of it in its wholeness, and there, because of that, there can be possibility of multiple decisions, worse or better, but there may be possibilities of multiple decisions lying in the realm of decision making space. Now, this is another way of telling it, that whatever decision I make, there might be possibility of a contradicting decision which might be good or might be better. So I never want to neglect that case, and probably I want to keep experimenting with those contradicting decisions. So wherever I get chance and there is a feasibility of experimenting, I would probably do that. So let's say uh, this black dot is my knowledge, and again, like, this blue dot is the entire knowledge itself. So maybe that contradicting decision may exist in the blue area, which probably even not my awareness. And because of I don't have that knowledge, I don't even know that there is existence of a contradictory better decision. Now, if we talk about this, if we zoom in into my knowledge, that black dot, there is white dot, which probably is the supported knowledge which helped me take that particular decision. But again, there is a black area which is part of my knowledge, but it still can contain some contradicting decisions. So it's kind of thinking about it. There is no any. I don't have any a strong argument, but it's just I'm trying to bring that perspective out here. Then let's say it has something to do with time as well. For example, in 2007, when I was in engineering, and I made all that decision about playing games and spoiling my career, and I was aware that what I am doing at that time was wrong, but still I did it, right? I didn't have any logic to prove it right, because it was not right at the time. But over the period of time, in 2021, if I see the same decisions, probably that non-contradicting decision area, which has kind of increased now, and everything has been proven as a better decision. Because of those things, probably I am at the right place right now. So it has also something to do with time, or probably it has something to do with the knowledge, and also the capability of using logic that also has evolved. And now today, if I want to see that decisions, I would see it differently. And not all the contradicting decisions would lie in black and white. Probably it may be in a gray scale. There might be multiple decisions having different scale of positives and negatives attached to it, and you probably have to decide like which one you still want to take. You may not have clear answer that it's a right or wrong decision. Yeah, I also want to talk a little bit about my dilemma in decision making in design teams. So, for example, if I have a team of 5 members in my team, design team. Me being a senior, and there are couple junior designers, one strategist, one program manager. Everyone is part of the team, and then we have to come up with the decision. For example, we have to select a concept out of 5, which one is the best for going forward. Now let's say everyone has its own idea, their own logic and own knowledge. According to they will try to promote their concept to go ahead, and they'll try to give the rationale about the same. So at this point, how do we keep that decision making? Should it be always democratic, or should it be always a leader's decision? So in my opinion, I have not any strong decision about it, or not strong inclination about any of it. But I would say all teammates' ideas should be heard, because that will help taking the best decision in favor of team. When I'm convinced with teammates' decision, then that becomes the decision most of the time. So any ideation or discussion, if there is convincing arguments and research or data which supports that idea, then definitely it has to become the team's decision. But sometimes I'm not convinced with idea even after a lot of valid rationale, because maybe because of my own belief or experience that I have throughout my life, I still go with my instinct and my belief and dictate my decision, going against the whole team sometimes, which happens very rarely, but it still happens. And there is still responsibility to deliver the best experience for the user. There is no escape to it. And yeah, there is like positive cases also, we successfully delivered in that manner as well. Now sometimes even I'm not convinced with the teammates idea, but I have faith on that particular team member who is conveying the idea. And maybe because of their credentials, or probably the kind of successful contributions in the past they have, I sometimes go with their idea, even it is contradicting with mine, just to experiment with that. And there are like cases of success in that kind of approach as well. Yeah, so that was the kind of a brief debate that I wanted to put it across. And I would like to conclude on the small 3 notes here. Stay open-minded, be a good listener, experiment with contradictions, and games are good.
Thank you, Sandeep. That was really insightful. And thanks for sharing your experiences and your journey with us. Now we'll move forward to our second segment, where we will chat, where I will ask you questions, and hopefully these are the questions that will inspire the next generation of designers who are struggling with how to go forward in their life and their career. So let's start with that. So my first question is, while I did introduce you, can you tell me something about yourself?
Oh, so as you already introduced me, I'm currently working at Frog as a senior interaction designer. And yeah, my journey started from engineering to become a designer. When I was in second year of engineering, there were many events coming up for the tech fest. There used to be event for gaming as well, and I used to take part in gaming events as an organizer. And I used to be responsible for creating posters, website, or any artwork for those events. So at that time, I actually started using Photoshop and CorelDRAW as my first design tools, graphic design tools. And then slowly I actually got interested into that quite a lot, and started learning HTML based designs, and how to move design from Photoshop to HTML. All those learning happened over the period of time. And after completing my engineering, I was working as a web developer and designer in a company with really small salary. But it was really good experience to explore both the sides as a designer and as a developer. And then I invested 2 years just to prepare for getting admission into NID. In first attempt, I failed, but in second, I got through. And that was kind of big turning point about my career. I always wanted to be in the industry of gaming and animation before that. But when I got into NID and in new media design especially, I realized that my area of interest probably is more. I expanded my area of interest by knowing that the courses that we had in NMD. So it became more about the experience, experiential design, and it didn't have to be experiences on the screen. In my first startup, uh, we wanted to create experiences of multi-sensory products, which can be used for education, marketing, publicity. So we tried that. We were also doing website and apps at the same time. Yeah, it was probably we struggled in our startup because we were too early in Ahmedabad for those kind of experiences where market was probably not ready at the time. So then we move ahead. But yeah, after that, I joined TCS, where I worked as a game designer and interaction designer. We created games for the employees to improve their motor skills and language. So yeah, that also kind of gave me exposure to game design as a career path. I didn't continue a lot on that, but yeah, it was a good experience at TCS. Then I went to Autodesk. In Autodesk, I was working on a product of 3D design collaboration tool, where the tool itself was facilitating users to do communication, collaboration, commenting, versioning, everything on a cloud platform. Also considering 3D environment, where your comment appears in 3D environment, your version, previous version and next version looks in 3D, and you have to provide interface to visualize that change, how it looks in 2D and codes. There are like different tools, probably you might have experience where you see different versions, compare things, but now you visualize it in 3D space, where your 3D object in previous version was looking like this, and this is the part which has been changed in this version. So amazing opportunity to create experiences for three-dimensional environment. And then I got into Frog, and I'm here at Frog for more than 3 years now, and it has been amazing journey, all different domains that I have currently worked with, and the processes that we follow at Frog, and the kind of collaboration across the studios that we have globally. It has been, really good experience for me to evolve at Frog. That I think it's something really good which happened in my career. Yeah.
Wow, that was great. Thank you so much for going in deep and explaining. I also want to touch about the difficulties and struggles that you have faced as a designer, like from starting from engineering, maybe, or you can touch upon some of those experiences that you've had.
First struggle is if my parents and my family members ask me, what do you do? And then to explaining them itself is a struggle and difficult. When I say I'm a designer, then they say, oh, you make clothes. I said they only understand design as a fashion design. But that's then I say, oh no, it's not about fashion design. We design different interfaces for different devices, and let's say, oh, then they say you make websites. And okay, then again another challenge comes now. As an interaction design, how we understand being one is really difficult to make a layman understand. So yeah, that has been quite a challenge. And another couple of examples if I want to take. In my previous experience, we had a client, we had a client from Saudi Arabia, and they wanted probably finance, recruitment, communication, payroll, and what we call internal social media, everything into one mobile app. that was their proposal. They came to Frog, and we were kind of dealing with it, that we tried to convince them, guys, this is not the best idea to make like 10 in one app. Because if you see like Google, Microsoft, everyone is capable. They already have all these apps. They are not making all this app into one. There is a reason for it. And it was really difficult to make them understand that it's really bad idea. We gave all our rationale to make them understand, but they were kind of stubborn, and then they say, see, we want this, and then we said, okay, let's make that. So yeah, so sometimes there are struggle, like even that that is not the best decision that you are going to implement, but you have to do it because clients want it that way. So, and also like sometimes we have to let go good ideas, in any given programs. Whenever we come up with our own iterations and explorations, and then we present to the client saying, okay, these are the ones that should be considered, and then client will come up with their preconceived mind. They might have seen something somewhere, and then they are stuck to it, and then we have to let go. Okay, now there is a limit to it. We can convince and put our effort. After that, we have to accept what client is now ready for, and then we document. So we feel it our responsibility. In our documentation, we provide our recommendations, that this is something we recommended, and this is some decision that was taken. But anytime if they feel that they want to look back, our recommendation is always there. So at Frog, that we follow that practice. So any good idea is never lost from the client. So yeah, that is. But yeah, this is also one of the challenge, which I would say.
So this is your current challenges and difficulties, right? I'm also interested in understanding, like, as a designer who have changed multiple media and has also grown into different domains and industries. What has been your challenges in terms of adapting to different sort of roles? Was there any?
Yeah. So, for example, I remember the experience at Charuvi Design Labs. I was working on two programs. One was Sri Hanuman Chalisa, which was the app, which the video that you might have seen. And another program was to create holographic installation of 6 feet height of a huge glass structure. So one program is completely into digital media, where you have to deal with developers and engineers, software engineers, and the designers, an animation team. So that was the different type of people that I used to deal with. And another, like that installation of holographic projection, which was a physical installation, and I used to communicate, and on everyday basis communicate, collaborate, and also work on with the hardware on the site. So I remember the team was made of civil engineer, architect, animators, and the labor, like actual labor who are actually going to do welding and cutting the sheet metals and everything. So that challenge, right, where you have to communicate your idea. So it is really easy to make someone understand who talks your language. For example, designer and engineer, it's really easy to make them understand with the diagrams and with the communications tools that you have. They will easily understand what you want to create. But when you go to the level where you have to communicate to a labor that, hey dude, you should have 5 millimeter gap here, because there has to be some buffer, we have to put, because this structure may contract. There has to be some buffer you have to consider, and those kind of ideas, communicating to that level of team, which does not have exposure to English. Also, they don't understand sometimes Hindi also properly if they are coming from some other language, regional language background. Yeah, so those were the times I literally faced a lot of challenge, and to come out of it, like I used to be really agile to solve those. You have to get another person quickly to to become a communicator in between, and there are different ways to solve it. But yeah, that was kind of a tough task at that time.
Now, I think we've enough talked about difficulties and challenges. I want to know, what are your greatest strengths?
I would say my greatest strengths are my craft and my analytical skill.
All right. Um, so now, can you let us know like different domains you have been associated and talk a little bit about them? Like, yeah.
Yeah. So if I talk about my recent years at Frog, I've been working on IoT, life science, e-commerce, and telco for in last couple of years. When I say IoT, I worked with a company who deals with smart homes and creates devices for smart homes. And particularly my role was to work on the integrations part with Alexa, Google, and Apple HomeKit. So I also got opportunity to talk to um, Apple, Alexa, and Google teams, who are actually creating those uh, code from the scratch, and it's a collaborative effort. It's not Apple and Google; they are not working separately and creating something as a platform. So being a device producer, smart home device producer, they have to collaborate with these companies, so with us, and that ideas has to exchange what could bring the best experiences. So it was really good learning at that time. And then I also worked with a company who creates e-bikes. It's a German giant who creates e-bikes equipment, motor and batteries especially. So they wanted to create best customer experience for the support, in the app. So they already had call center for as a customer care, but then they wanted to reduce those number of calls that they receive. So how to provide the best experience in app experience, so that they don't need to call the customer care and still get the support at their end. Yeah, and then we also had I worked with a life science company in Europe, and we also created a prototype for how a mobile camera can diagnose acne and rosacea, and provide proper visual to it, and what should be the treatment later. So yeah, that was also kind of great experience. And we recently completed a program for a company in India who are giant in e-commerce and multi-level marketing. So we created a completely new onboarding experience for their business owners, and how it was probably taking more than 1 hour to onboard a person. Now it probably takes 2 minutes, and it is very fast. We provided initial experience for them, how to get acquainted with the website and what is the purpose of the website. Yeah. So, and also like telco, Saudi, one of the Saudi giant in telecommunication industry, we had a program with it. We did completely redesign of their consumer facing apps, and we also contributed. Then it was rebranded, and then we also helped them rebrand their whole ecosystem of the apps and websites. So yeah, quite a good experience. And also everything which I said about is not only done in India studio. As a Frog, like, it's really good culture we have to work as multi studio collaborative platform, where we collaborate with so the programs which I mentioned, we used to collaborate with Milan, Germany, and US studios as well. So yeah, quite a lot of learning there.
Wow, that's quite a lot of domain, a lot of media, a lot of different touch points that you have like literally tackled in. I want to know, like, how does a day in your life progress?
Oh, a day in my life is probably very simple. I wake up at 9:30 in the morning, get ready for work. And 10:30, we generally have stand-ups. We do our stand-up. Then again, like, there is some immediate meeting after stand-up, catch up with some of the team member and align with what we are going to do today. Then we separate in half an hour, and then we continue our day, working on our assignments. And then at 4 p.m. we have chai time at Frog. That's really good. Say good event every day we have at Frog. I appreciate it. So in pandemic times, it's really difficult. We don't see our team members every day. So this is the probably event which we meet at least every day, see people, talk to each other. It doesn't have to be about work. We sometimes just blabber, talk about how the day went, and what is the weekend plan. Sometimes we play games also. Like there are some nice games online we can play. We always play, not always, but sometimes we play games as well. So that's a half an hour session. After that, also, of course, there is any meeting from the client or internal meeting schedule, we have to attend that. Then in the evening, 7, probably at max 7, I become free. I don't want to work after that. I work out for half an hour or 45 minutes. I generally do dance fitness. I look really weird when I dance, but for the sake of fitness, I do it. And sometimes I do freehand exercises. And then, yeah, the dinner is on me. Preparing dinner is on me. So my wife prepares lunch and breakfast. So I every day prepare dinner. Well, I'm very like boring on my recipe. I always prepare khichdi, a veg khichdi, but I keep experimenting with the sequence of some of the activities of frying and other things, and also the material and vegetables which I put. Yeah, but then every day it's different. But yeah, it's still khichdi. And then like after 10:30 alternate day, I play games. I also stream on the internet. So it generally runs for 3-4 hours session every time. And yeah, I enjoy it a lot. And after that, I don't get sleep immediately, so I generally watch tech news on YouTube. I used to follow emerging technology. Mostly I follow computer and mobile related hardware, where any update is there, I have to go through it. So that's something I do every day. Yeah, then my day ends.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful in terms of understanding, like how you balance your work life and what things you do. I want to understand where do you get your inspirations from, or what inspires you?
Um, I would say I don't read a lot. I watch movies. I play a lot of games. So most of my inspirations come from, uh, I think, in these two activities, watching movies and playing games, and also the YouTube channels which I follow about technology. So that is, I think, and also cooking, which I make khichdi. How can I make khichdi different every time?
What are your hobbies other than games and cooking, as you just pointed out?
Yeah, so I sing. I'm a bathroom singer. I'm not a good singer. Then I like driving my car, which is also like these days has gone really down because of pandemic and some restrictions in the city. But I used to roam around in my car, going outskirts of the Bangalore and visit some random places. That's something I love to do. And doodling on iPad is also something I keep doing. Not I don't generally publish them, but I keep doing it. I love to doodle.
That's amazing. Now coming back to some work, like we did talk about, engineer, designer, and some of the team members, communication that you have been doing, and but you did touch upon, business stakeholders. But I want to ask, like, some of your advice that how do you work with these different stakeholders and still try to convince them? Do you have like a certain methodology that you follow, some methods or steps to make them understand if those are in contradiction to what you are currently thinking?
So at Frog, whenever we start a program, so let me explain a little bit in detail. So I have been fortunate enough that I'm in Frog, and it has been so transparent company where even a junior or senior designer is involved from the beginning of the program. In fact, they are involved in the business development as well. Where we used to estimate about the effort and time and budget. Everything is transparent. And that is something I really appreciate about Frog. And we also have a methodology, uh, what we call it, methodology, a deck which has all the methods, like according to the program, we can select like these are the activities we can conduct, or probably these are the activities which are required in this particular program in this given time. So those are, we take it from there and we make it part of our proposal. We do our own estimation, and we also explain everything in that perspective to the client, that this is the methodology that we are going to follow in the whole program. So whenever we do that BD pitch, our proposal actually conveys the complete blueprint of what we are going to do, and each activity what is the deliverable, and each phase what is the major deliverable, and how the transition from one phase to another phase will happen, and how the final deliverable will be provided, and how the handover will be happening if there is any other team as well. So it's kind of really structured in a manner, and it comes really handy. And there isn't any confusion when we do communication with the client. Of course, within given situation, there are some certain change requests and everything coming, but we have like mostly our methodologies are planned in a way that even if there is any change, we have proper scope of estimation, and let the client know whenever is required. So I think that's very structured, and we don't face generally any difficulty by in communicating the client in any phase.
That's important. I think being transparent, right?
Yeah.
Let me call it now to the past. If there's a piece of advice that you could give your 5-year younger self, what would that be?
5-year younger self.
Yeah, I mean, go back 5 years, and then things that you did. If you want to go back and tell them that you're not supposed to do that, or maybe do this, what would that be?
Probably I could more focus on the management part, which would require in design. Probably that was the thing that was missing when we started up our own company. Probably we were really good at what we designed, what we created, but we were really not good at marketing and selling our product. So probably if I would have that skill, the scene would be different. Probably I would be working on my own startup, making actually experiential products in the market.
All right. What advice do you have for young designers who are currently in the field?
I would say for any young designer to master the craft that they are doing. I strongly believe that devil lies in the detail. Even if you grow in your career, become lead, and even CEO of the company, you would be if you have experience of the labor that goes into into refinement of fine details, then only you would be able to appreciate those roles in your team, and the time they are taking in the craft that they are doing. You can only empathize well if you have been through it. So I strongly believe that this should be the key, mastering your craft and refining. That should be the key.
And the last question for today, any recommendations of media that you think would be helpful for young designers? It can be games, movies, anything that you think would be good.
I would say games. Games are good.
Yeah, but what games?
What games?
Yeah.
Oh, there are many games. Depends on the interest of a person. But I would say if you are really good at your mechanical and motor skills, you should play first person shooter. So Valorant is one of the game where there are different abilities, there are different weapons. Even there is a bow and arrow where you have to explore with the gravity, and there are different concepts of physics that you also have to master to play the best of your role. So yeah, I think there might be many games, but yeah, I'm talking about the one game which I'm currently playing.
Wow, that's great. Recommendation. I hope people enjoy these games. And thank you, Sandip, for sharing your thoughts with us today. Here's a small token of love and appreciation for all the good work that you do and for inspiring us. We confer upon you the title of Inspiring Designer. Thank you. Thanks a lot for sharing today, Sandeep.
Thanks, Kadambari. And thanks, team.
Folks watching us today, I hope this has inspired you, and stay inspired, keep designing. Until next time. Thank you, guys.